Welcome back to another video, and I'm going to start doing these new kind of videos where we kind of disassemble things and tear them down to see what's inside. So I've always done this since I was a young kid, you know. I've always been kind of curious what makes things work and what's actually going on inside. It's kind of what led me into electronics, if I'm honest. I just find it fascinating, you know, that 99% of the time all we really see of a product is the exterior, and for a lot of people it doesn't go much deeper than that, you know. Like, for example, this handheld like mini screwdriver, to most people that's just exactly that, right? You pull the button, it does what it's supposed to do. But you dive a bit deeper and there's a lot going on in here, you know. And over the years I've kind of taken things apart and discovered exactly what makes things work. I've taken things apart like old computers, laptops, power supplies, mobile phones, things like this, lights. Basically people have come to me and said, can you fix this, or can you figure out what's wrong with this? I've repaired consoles, you know, Xbox 360s, things like that. But yes, it's always kind of interested me, and I thought maybe I'd share it. Some of you may not like this kind of content, and that's fine, but my goal really is to just try and increase some people's curiosity as to what exactly is going on inside electronic devices. Fascinates me still to this day, which is why I want to keep doing these videos. And I'm going to try and just find things, you know, and break them down and see exactly what's inside. So let's get straight into it. This is a garden light, and it's an outdoor one, obviously. It's solar panelled, so there's obviously some kind of battery in here. I'm not 100% sure what type of battery's in there, but this light isn't actually working properly at the moment. So what's happening is I can turn it on. So if I hit the power button on the back, there's a little switch, the rocker switch. You can see the light comes on, and bear in mind it's day, so it doesn't appear that bright. But in a very dark garden, you know, if the light's up high, it lights up an entire patio or something like that. But the problem is, after, you know, maybe 10-20 minutes of being on, it tends to flicker. So there could be a few things that could cause that. I mean, it could be as simple as a dodgy capacitor. Usually capacitors can be to blame for things like that, because obviously the job of a capacitor is to provide some kind of smoothing, basically, especially when you're talking about power supplies. But it could be the battery. You know, this is 4 or 5 years old. The battery, every battery has a charge, a charging life cycle, and especially with solar panel stuff, because you don't have a consistent charging time, battery health can tend to be very problematic. Because, you know, just like your mobile phone, if you don't charge it properly, or if you don't let it deplete to a low enough percentage, over time you get that memory effect, and your battery or your phone will start dying at, you know, 50-60%. Same thing with this. So I'm going to tear it down, and we're going to see what's inside. Honestly, I don't think there's going to be too much in here. I expect there's a couple of circuits, mainly because I forgot to mention there's a motion sensor on the front, and you can actually calibrate it. So you've got time here, which is obviously, you know, the amount of time you want a light to stay on. You've got sensitivity, which is to do with the motion sensor, and lux on the end. So I don't know whether those circuits are going to be here or here. This one doesn't seem very watertight, so in terms of being in a garden, like you can see on here, they've clearly, what you tend to get with these outdoor devices is they obviously need to be very protected from the elements. So they tend to have these rubber seals jammed between everything. But this, honestly, it's completely open really in terms of that. So I don't know if there's anything else in there, but we can have a look. So we've got 4 screws on the back here, which are a bit rusty, which is kind of expected. But I've got a feeling the battery's going to be in here. So we do have a battery. So you can see here we've got a nice, it's a pretty big battery, to be honest, bigger than I thought it'd be for something like this. Obviously then we've got some wiring coming from some circuitry, I imagine, that is in here. So I assume there's some PCBs or something in here that's feeding back to the battery, especially for charging. We've got a DC charging jack here that feeds straight in and goes down there. So there must be some kind of power circuitry in this bottom section here. So I'll remove the battery, just take it out. Hopefully it's not adhesive, got any adhesive or anything on there. There are 2 lovely brackets here, so I assume it's just going to come out. Okay, so that's the first one. We've got another one on this side. Let's see if I can get that out of there without damaging anything, pulling any wires. You have to always be very careful disassembling things. This bracket here is kind of mangled a bit, so it doesn't fully go back and forth, but it's not really, as long as you can screw it to a wall, it's not a problem. Okay, so let's get this last screw out. So we got some battery information. We have a 7.4 volt 13.3 watt hour battery, and it's lithium ion, obviously. 1800 milliamp hours, which is not too bad actually, you know. That's kind of what you expect to see in a typical smartphone these days. I don't know if we've got a date or anything on the battery to signify how old. Ah, we do actually, it's right there. So this has a date on it, the 10th of May 2015, so you can see it's over 4 years old now. And that kind of gives me doubts about the battery, and that may be a potential fault of why it's flickering. But we'll see what else is in here. You can easily replace the battery, or if you really wanted to, you could just wire it up directly. So maybe I could create my own battery pack for it. That would be an interesting project. Maybe I could do a video on that. But yeah, that's that. I'm not sure if there'll be anything else in here. I'll take a look anyway, but I assume that's all sealed off where the LED is, because there's just one wire going down there, and I assume that goes straight to this big LED chip here. They tend to seal those units up pretty well, because obviously if any moisture gets in there, it kills the effect of the light basically. So if I can lift it up, I'm not sure there's going to be anything there. Nah, it's just a it's just a plate basically. It's a plate that you can mount stuff onto. So I'll put that back on. Pointless removing it. And again, I think the bottom one, if I remove these screws, it's just a plate that covers the glass. So I'll check it. sure there'll be anything there. You see what I mean about this bracket? The shape on it. It's mangled. So it only folds like halfway. So let's have a look at this. Yeah, as I expected, it's just a plate. Nothing you can really get in here. This is very, very sealed. You can see also has some of that outdoor protection through the glass, because you really wouldn't want any moisture getting in there. As I said, if it steams up, it pretty much makes the light useless. So not a bad idea, that. Check these back in too. So the good stuff is going to be in here, in this motion sense part. That's where the interesting stuff is. And sometimes, you know, you always get a bit surprised. I think, before I take things apart, I kind of try to guess how I think things are going to be laid out. And 9 times out of 10, you're always wrong, really. You can never fully predict, unless you're disassembling similar things like mobile phones. Obviously you can kind of tell, but if it's something new, like I've never really taken anything like this apart, but straight away it's quite different how I expected it to be, to be honest. There's a lot going on in here, so let's get into this. So we've got two screws here. Let's get these out. I imagine the back plate will come off nicely. Yep, there we go. We've got a bit of shielding or something on there on the cover. And if we open it up, there we go. So you can see our circuitry in there. So we've got the battery up here that rests in that section. And as I said, I'm quite surprised that this part is very sealed. You know, it's designed to be sealed. It's got a rubber seal all the way around the edge. This part, however, doesn't have that at all, which honestly that surprises me, since all the circuitry is actually right here. The design of this thing, I guess it's designed to be oriented this way, so nothing could really drip onto any circuitry because the top part is sealed. But you know, in terms of moisture, if moisture gets in there, that's enough to damage a circuit board. Especially over time, you know, you get oxidation and all kinds of nasty stuff going on. But we've got power circuit at the top, it looks like, and then there's some kind of circuit at the bottom with a few ICs on it. Unfortunately, I don't think I can get these out because they're kind of joined together, and the wires actually run through. I don't know if you can see very well on the camera. The wires run through this arm up into this part of the device, so I'd have to kind of disassemble it to get it apart, or unsolder some wires. I don't really want to do that right now. I probably will do it because I want to try and repair it. Maybe I'll try replace some of these capacitors here on the power circuit. They could also be at fault for the flickering. You never know, you know, it could be anything, it could be any component. Things tend to die very sporadically. But you can see in there we've got those really small pots. So we've got three really small pots that are those controls on the front. So so that you just dial in the setting that you want, and obviously that's being handled by some kind of ICs on this little circuit board here, and it looks quite a little neat circuit board actually. You can see on the underside it's a double-sided PCB, and it has an LED and some kind of motion sensor on there, which is awesome. If I do take these out, I'll probably take some photos or close-ups so you can have a look at them. But yeah, that's basically it. We've got some chunky looking resistors there on the top too. So by the looks of things, this is also likely to be, you know, it's basically a charging circuit as well. So this panel's connected in. That wire runs straight from the solar panel down into this circuit, from what I can see. Let me double check. Yeah, it comes straight down into here. It comes in on this side, and then comes out the other side and is fed back after these capacitors back up to the battery. So I assume that's providing the battery with a stable current to charge, and the battery is coming back down and powering the LED in the front here. And that's basically it. I hope you found that pretty cool. I'll definitely be doing a lot more stuff like this. Might even take this apart for the next one or something similar. But I hope you can kind of see, you know, it's kind of interesting to see what's actually making things work. What's inside? What are things made of? I think these are really important questions to ask, because it allows you to gain an understanding of, you know, modern devices, and that you can reverse engineer things and improve them, add your own kind of spin on them. So after seeing this, you know, I'm pretty confident I could build my own outside light. It doesn't look too complicated. It's literally a power source, the battery, or in this case also the solar panel to charge it. And we're just handling a couple of settings on the sensor, which honestly I don't think would be too complicated. There doesn't seem to be a microcontroller or anything on there. There's two little ICs on there, so I'm going to find out what they are. And that's it, and that's just being fed back to the LED on the front. And that's it. Okay, so I actually managed to get some of the circuitry out. I've got this bottom circuit out. It seems quite a cool, relatively straightforward circuit. Double-sided, as I said, with, you know, you can see we've got the sensor there with a little LED. Really straightforward PCB tracks, nothing too fancy. But one thing I really discovered which was pretty shocking, to be honest. So I discovered you can actually unscrew this all the way. And inside, the way these wires travel through, so you can see there's a little an extrusion here on this piece that kind of mounts in and holds the wires in place to stop them pulling back and forth, because this is designed to go like this. And what you can see in there is just frayed wires. There's a bunch of frayed wires, and that's pretty dreadful, to be honest. Design wise, that's an awful decision. I cannot even imagine why somebody would do that. So yeah, that may actually be the fault. So it could be shorting out potentially, causing some flickering, or maybe that has caused damage to a component in the past, and then, you know, you turn it back on again and it's not working as it's supposed to. But I'll get some photos of this if you can't see it too close. But that is pretty dreadful. Yeah, so I'm pretty confident now that if I rewire this myself, that chances are it'll work. So I may not even have to replace any components. It might just be a wiring job. So I'll definitely have a look at that. And I might even do an update video if it comes to it. So yeah, I mean, that's it for this video. I hope you found it relatively interesting. Obviously this isn't a very interesting device, it's just a lamp or a garden light, but in the future, you know, I'm going to tear down some more interesting things so that you can see what's going on inside, and it's fascinating. I love it. I absolutely love it. So yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you found it useful in some way. Maybe it's intrigued you to try this thing out for yourself. Be careful though, always be careful when you're taking things apart, and there's always a risk of you damaging things. But for me personally, that's a risk I'm always willing to take to try and learn something. So yeah, if you want to see more like this, hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed the video, leave a thumbs up, I'd really appreciate that. And I hope you have an awesome day.